We had another day on the S&Ps. This time it gapped up, tested highs again, and it got sold off at the end of the day. Um, like I said, I'm not really sure what to make of this. We have had 3 tight days in a row, and we are in this really strong uptrend. The volume's tapering off. I mean, it's really hard to say what will happen. It seems like it's just kind of getting floated up on low volume, but until we get a, a signal to say to go short, I'm just gonna say keep sitting on my hands with this, and trading light. There's really no reason to be forcing this market. It's just a hard market, and I just got to make the best of it, and trade light, and get into high trades with high risk reward, and or low risk to high reward, and just when the market wants to move, just to be in it, and that should pay for all the stops, and that I've taken, and more. So I mean, that's just kind of what my philosophy is right now. Nasdaq is the same story. Gap up, sold off, really tight range in here, intraday. I mean, if this moves, it's due to move somewhere or another, just based on how tight the dailies are. Like I said, I'm not going to short this just based off of the strength versus the other indices. We look at this uptrend. That's a, there's nothing that you want to be shorting this. There's nothing to be bearish about. Russell is, a different story here. Is we've got, the spike down. We've got almost like a flag pattern forming here. With a test of these lows, it's a little more clear on the hourly chart, where you can kind of see that this is becoming an area of it's a resistance area here. It breaks above it, now it's becoming an area of support. If we get an open range break below here, I mean, you could be looking to short this. We see potential for an Elliott wave coming down here that would send this thing to 170. Let's see what the fib extension comes out to be. That is actually truly the high. So we've got basically almost testing these lows, but based off the strong upturn of the market, who knows what will happen. The key is right now, since we don't really have a trend, is to just trade light, and get into good trades with good risk reward, so that once the market hits momentum, that we're catching it, and we're paying for our stops that we've taken. There's 5 stocks, the big boys that are set up, in my opinion. Google is the first one. This had the ER. It's got the double test of these highs, the sell off. I mean, a break above this is a definite trade long. We've got the highs up here. It'd probably test it. So the risk reward on this isn't necessarily as high as the other ones, but if you get a good trigger, you're going for a $5.50 move here. You could maybe with $1.50 stop, you could have a good trade. So you go like this. $1.50 stop puts you at, can't read it, but like 3 to 1. So I mean, it's not necessarily a bad trade. It's a very high probability trade in my mind, just because of how close it is. The next one would be Tesla. Tesla, this one has got this kind of like a hook forming here. I mean, this thing is, it's had 3 tests of this one, or this 225. If we get an open range break with volume, here, it's easily going to the, to this 229, and I mean, this thing is tight. It could, pull another, 616, type of move where, it's going up to 220. Let's look at the fibs here. Yeah, we break above here, it could go to, 232, relatively easily. Especially, you got to watch it here, and maybe take some off here, but, and then, move the stops to break even, but, it could easily, move up to here. From the long term, I believe that the weekly is still indicators. The Bollinger Bands within the weekly are really tight. So if it pops, we could get an earnings run here. So, I mean, it's something to watch. IBM is another one here. You look at this daily, you've got, two tries of this. Ideally, we'd want a little, one could consider this the cup. We'd want a little handle here, just, to give us a little more time and a little better entry, a little better, risk reward of the trade. But, if we break this here, we're probably testing the 199 to 100 area pretty easily. Putting the risk reward on this trade. If you can get a stop somewhere in, which is that stop? Basically a dollar stop. You're dealing with a 4-to-1 trade here. So that's something that you would probably want to get into, and basically let's look at the weekly, see if we would scale there. And I mean, this is actually pretty bullish in the weekly. We got this spike up. Bollinger Bands are tight. I mean, we could, it could go beyond here and test this 208 area. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Leave some runners for that. So that could be a good trade as well. Priceline is another one that I'm watching. We look at this daily. This daily was looking good until that spike this afternoon. But where'd that go down there? There we go. Ideally is that we're looking for, an open range break in volume above this 124.43 area. And we get that, this thing is going to, the 1264s, and then if it can pull some volume above that, we're going to almost 1300. So it's something to watch. There's plenty of time before earnings. You look at how tight these Bollinger Bands are. This thing can move if we get some momentum towards it. Last one is Win. Win's basically had this downtrend, and then we're flagging off this downtrend. So ideally, you'd want to try to play this pop here, play this break high with an open range break. Daily is tight, weekly is tight as well. I mean, there's no reason why this couldn't test, 220. If we get that break. So, looking at the risk reward to it, you could easily put it, right under. You could probably do a pretty tight risk reward on this, maybe like a, maybe $1.50 stop, and then your risk reward on this trade is almost at 7. So that's something that I would look to carry a majority of the position, but take some off at this 213 area, just so that I reduce my risk, put my stops at break even, and then ride the rest of this number. These are just trade ideas that I have. I'm not necessarily saying go ahead and trade them, but it's just something that is something to look for, and something that has really helped me out in my trading is this risk reward, because this month I've been profitable, and honestly I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for risk reward, because I've been taking a ton of stops this month, but I'm still profitable because of this Apple trade here. I told you about this earlier, how you had the double inside candles in the daily this day, and then I wrote it up to this area, and that move right there has still made me profitable this month. So all what you got to do is you just got to hit one or two of these big moves, and then just eat stops for the rest of the time, and you're doing fine. And that's just kind of the philosophy that I'm looking at, is that I just got to be taking good technical trades, and then eventually that something's going to hit, and I'm just reduced my position size down a lot, and I'm just going to keep going at this. I mean, I'm pretty much dealing with just straight commons right now, just pretty much just no overall account risk, just so that once I hit something, I'm gonna pay for my stops. So I'm just letting you guys know where I'm at, in terms of trading right now. I'm not trading as well as I should, but I'm not discouraged at all. So I'm just giving you guys, that little bit. So, you know, go ahead tomorrow, trade them well. Hopefully we get something. If not Monday, we should, be able to grab some movement. So, all right, thanks again for listening and like the video. Thanks.